Hello to the gamers! Welcome back to ETF2L Season 47, Spring 2024, 6v6. I think I've got all the words in there now. We've covered our bases. It's the sixth week. We're getting into the playoffs race. We're getting into the important matches, more or less. I mean, this one kind of necessarily isn't really because both of these teams are currently the top teams on the table with MANDEM and Forfence. But we could still see some good gaming and some implications perhaps for seeding and all that. Anyway, before I get ahead of myself, I am Cerny, joined by JMax on the production and Delta Market on the mic. How's it going, man?
It's going great. As you said, I think this game, Mandem has been so dominant. They only had one tie versus another team. I believe it was, yeah, Sketa. They tied Sketa, and so no one's just been able to stop them. And Forfence has kind of been in a similar position. They tied Sketa as well, and actually tied Mandem, which was a little surprising. So we're gonna see which one of these immovable objects gets pushed over first.
I do suppose so. I mean, both of these were playoffs teams last season as well, in their own right. They're consistently in these playoffs, so it doesn't necessarily surprise me to see them at the top of the table this far into the season now, right? And as it shakes out, I think Mandem are pretty much cemented as the first seed, or at least into the playoffs. They can't get kicked
Mhm.
out anymore. They're like the only team so far that is confirmed for playoffs. Every other team besides Global Yeti can still technically make it in some weird ways. And thusly, also, Forfence could still be kicked out of the playoffs somehow as well. They could, mess up royally these next couple of matches tonight and then next week against TLR, get no points and somehow end up in a very bad situation. I suppose anything can happen. Anything is possible. And if history serves right, then obviously you would expect Mandem once more to be the team that comes out on top here. They've been looking more consistent. They've been more dominant. Both of these teams drew against Sketa, but Sketa's just a dark horse this season. I guess they kind of just trade points with everybody except Garda. Uh, so like on head to head, the Frenchies maybe a little less consistent, having a bit of an off week against Nandem, a team you wouldn't necessarily expect them to drop points against. So I don't know, going off of those raw numbers, everybody I think is expecting Mandem to be the team that comes out ahead here, but Forfence has surprised us before, so I don't know, maybe we'll see some surprises there.
Yeah, they definitely have. Also, speaking of surprises, the map choices,
Mm.
Granary and Sultry, yes, that's what we have on deck. That might play into things here. Could go either way on that, but I think both teams will be prepared. I'm not expecting any like crazy mid that some team just can't adapt to. I don't think anything like that will happen, but it might make some players kind of shine that might not on like Process or a Gully Wash game.
Yeah, like if you're talking, say, full map pool where you can pick stuff from, it tends to happen that Granary and Sultry are not the first choices people would pick, right? Obviously, with the rotational maps, people get to choose from every week. Uh, Maybe this is the least evils. I don't really know what was in rotation for this week, but it's interesting choices. You definitely don't see them all that frequently. You don't see them that often. Unorthodox choices, perhaps. Could certainly spell some interesting stuff for either side here. I'm trying to it's been a bit since I've actually watched a granary match. I don't think I've seen one this season so far, for that matter. I don't even know if there could have been any this season so far in terms of rotations. But it's definitely been a little bit. I don't remember necessarily how well either team traditionally does on this map either. I couldn't hazard a guess for Sultry. It's too recent of a map in general. I don't have any sort of experience to fall back on for that. There's no defaulting there, but yeah, it's a map where upsets can happen. So I don't know. I'm rooting for Forfence. I'm rooting for them to snatch some more points off of Mandem.
Yeah, I've been a Ron's fan since seeing his frag video, so we'll have to see if he's able to put any double air shots on this granary mid. That's I'm gonna make a bold prediction. I think we're gonna see a frag clip come out of one of these soldiers. I
Ooh.
don't know who it is, but
I
we're
mean,
gonna
there's a
see it.
lot of good soldiers in the server, so it's a tough choice. You got Ron's Brugesman, a very dialed-in French soldier duo. They go huge or they go home. Most of the time, they go huge. You have Hans as an insane playmaker on flanks. Blank very, very solidly playing his role on. Actually, hold on. I was gonna say it shouldn't be Lardox. Hold on. Why is Blank playing today? I just realized that. Wait a minute. I just noticed. It looks like Lardox isn't actually playing. on MANDEM tonight, they got blank sitting in instead, unless something about my alias is completely messed up. But I'm pretty sure that is indeed blank. So I mean, known quantity for the MANDEM team. Has been with them before in previous seasons. Very solid soldier as well. Could potentially play into Forfence's hands though. You know, they've probably been used to playing with Lardox for the past few weeks, and him having to sit out tonight. Who knows? Could be a bit of a playmaker, a bit of a changer here, if they're not feeling their full team on the side of Mandem.
Could be. Maybe that played into the map pick, though. Maybe they just wanted their solid soldier for these maps, but we'll have to see how that plays out. Keep our eyes on that. I don't know how I'm going to expect, like, perhaps off classes on both of these teams. I know both of them will run sniper occasionally, but they're not like the sniper to mid teams you'll see. But I do bring it up because Granary is definitely a map where you can see it come out, especially on the last holds.
Yeah, last on Granary is very friendly to sniper. Lots of open sight lines, lots of stuff that could happen there. Definitely something something you can see from time to time. I suppose it depends on whether or not we're getting into stalemates. Both of these teams, yeah, they play conservatively at times and then aggressively at others. I'm gonna just hazard here just before we get started. What do you think the scoreline would look like after the next 30 minutes have transpired? Who do you think is going to be sitting on top? Do you think we're going to a golden cap? It's going to be that close, or is one team just going to pick up some momentum and roll with it?
I think it's going to be a 3-1, but I don't know who it's going to be for.
Okay. I like it. So not a lot of rounds, but somebody will take in regulation. I suppose we'll see how things go as the first mid is going to be going underway. The first round of Granary. Again, this is MANDEM versus Forfence. And, well, we'll see how this first mid treats either team. Fancy a bit better on the rollout, doesn't get cut off from his pack. Well, Alien does on the other side. Unfortunate for him, he's gonna have to wait for his heals. Allows MANDEM to take some more positions to begin with, as Bruchman tries to go for a bomb instead, together with his soldier, but they both get onto June, and neither of them gets the kill. Lots of damage onto that medic on the side of MANDEM, but on the other side, everybody on the Frenchies has just fallen and cannot get back up. Well, okay, Nevo's trying his best. He gets a couple of frags to trade out whatever he can at the very least, but it's certainly not going to be more than just a little consolation for them at the end of the day. This is a very good, just coming out swinging mid for MANDEM here.
Yeah, I was on the Alien cam there, and it was so unfortunate. 28 HP, stickied off from the health pack. Maybe that made their mid a little disconnected at the start. Either way, we are going to see an attempt on second to maybe force the Uber. Alien has sticky traps above the exit. Maybe we'll see that get a frag. Maybe we'll see a force come out. But it looks like the side of Forfence... Actually, no, they are getting more aggressive. I thought they were going to leave, but here we see the demo walking up. They're doing a really good job spamming, but I don't know if it's going to work. They do get a kill on the flank. That's a good start to this.
Yeah, just buying yourself a little bit of time. If anything, you're still nowhere near your own Uber, and obviously looks like MANDEM are keen to use theirs instead. Just take it into last, even with a player down. They don't necessarily think they need haunts with how much of an Uber ad they have, but the longer they take here, even if they find the sentry now and potentially give themselves some grounds here, they have to worry about a back cap attempt out of Nevo as well, who manages to kill Inzo, and that Uber ad is fading. 10% left for Juxta to build, and with the Uber in play, this could be disastrous if MANDEM doesn't find some frags. They are getting a couple. Actually, they aren't getting enough. Never mind. I was going to say a bit more cap time, but nope, they're not getting enough. Nevo's just cleaning house, and it's only a soul spawner in Inzo left. I suppose a consolation for MANDEM is the force, but that's not gonna matter. It's not gonna matter at all. They cap in second, and the Frenchies are moving forward.
Yeah, that Uber started a little slow, but when they got that NG frag, I thought everything was going to turn for them, but somehow Forfence did such a great job stalling it out, and as we see, they do make it into mid. It's kind of mid-fight 2.0 here. We got high ground control, scouts running across the point. Here we see, looks like Forfence being a little bit dominant, bombing into the little corner area here, but Bronze ends up going down. Lots of damage trying to get cleaned up on, but it looks like MANDEM did such a good job defending that and really punished these French aggressors.
Yeah, they held that beautifully, give themselves a nice little bit of advantage in terms of players here again, but crucially throughout all of that, Juxta does stay alive, which means Forfence will probably have an Uber to hold this last with. Spawners come in as well, it's only Alien down, which to be very missing your demo sucks a little bit when the aggression from MANDEM's already coming in and they've got so much cap time as well. Matter of fact, nobody on the French side can get to the point in time. And just that quickly, you don't even need an Uber. You just get on that point knowing full well Alien is dead on the other side. You have no stickies to worry about. That's a quick round right there.
Yeah, June must be very proud of their Uber counting abilities because that was not a second to spare right there. If they were 1 second slower, I believe that scout would have probably gotten Ubered on.
Yeah, I definitely could have seen that happen, so great timing. Absolutely incredible work by MANDEM, and we're into our straightaway next to mid. Bit quicker for the Frenchies this time around. Alien doesn't get cut off from his pack, and it's right into it. It is a messy granary mid straight away, but Bruggeman is going to be the first to fall on the side of the Frenchies, with aggression finally coming out to the other side as well. They trade out Hans, they trade out their Alien Smiley though. No demo for the Frenchies here. Means that they just have to salvage what they can as they try to escape. Get a couple more frags. Well, either side that is. Inzo goes down, traded out for QB, and Ron's on the other side though. Another one mid for MANDEM, but nowhere near as decisively this time around. The Frenchies are in a much better position to actually hold on to second at the very least.
Yeah, and we do see MANDEM trying to break this already. They have their demo in. We see the high ground presence from Soldier. That is Bruggeman. And I believe the French will now have an even hold here, finally. Not going to have to stay on last. Looks like they're going to be doing a pretty normal hold with one Soldier on the high ground, the demo, and actually Demo's putting traps up in Lunchbox. That might surprise some people. You don't always see that happen. Actually, I do take back, they do have both Soldiers up top.
Curious. I guess they might be expecting some cheeky stuff out of MANDEM. MANDEM themselves just kind of figuring out what they want to do. Got the whole combo rotated back to the main door. They're actually just going to Uber in, go for the exchange. Obviously a lot later for Juxta. Has to flash a lot less here as well. His Uber's going to last way longer. Even if they lose Bruggeman in the exchange, they trade him out for Hans before the Uber even fades. Now with the Ubers faded, good positions for MANDEM. And they do find Alien as well, even if he gets traded out. It is players for the Frenchies, but no positions. They are struggling to get in here. Finally, they find some grounds. Finally, they clean up all these players. June left all alone, has to kill bind. Very respectable. That is a wonderful hold out of Frenchies. Biding their time, getting the aggression just right, and now they're going to be holding this straight into mid, with Hans trying to be cheeky and slipping behind, but he's going to get cleaned up immediately, so no problems there. And MANDEM are on the back foot.
Yeah, that was so excellently done by 4Fence. They gave up some ground, but they were overextenders, so you can give ground, take frags, exactly what they did. Now they're going to try to do another successful push, but they find a scout hiding around the corner. They drop a player, have to use Uber, and I don't think the Uber's actually going to find anyone. I think that frag on Fancy was on the flank there. And oh yeah, Ron's traded out for the demo frag, being down 2. I think 4Fence has to call this one a loss and back up.
Yeah, that's a bit of an unfortunate situation. Probably weren't expecting MANDEM to be that aggressive, having to actually use to get through Garrett share. Unfortunately, that's what happens. And now you gotta bite your tail, get out of there again. You cannot really try to contest this. June doesn't have Uber just yet, so I suppose if you were gonna have somebody hiding on the lamppost, go be cheeky with it, sure. But they're not gonna risk that. 4Fence have already made a mistake by dropping around to begin with. They're just gonna try to hold yard instead. They know the Uber disadvantage shouldn't be too huge. Jux is almost up on his own Uber again as well, so we could be looking at an equal hold here, depending on how many players they decide to drop before this push even happens. And guess what? It's potentially only one, with QB going down on the flank, though. That's to be expected. With the aggression MANDEM are putting down, you can't blame him for that at all. All it results in, though, is yard being taken, and there you go.
Yeah, 4Fence stalled them out as long as they could, got Ubers so they're not stuck on last. But here we're going to see another second hold. Looks like MANDEM starting this one off with their demo alone. Finally, the beam is here. Something's probably going to happen in Lunchbox from the way this demo is so passively spamming. But looks like 4Fence is really doing a good job holding down the Lunchbox side. They got their scouts doing a bit of a 1v1 over there. Point pressure's coming out. Gonna have to see how 4Fence decides to do with this. Looks like Alien's doing a really good job on the point. You see a lot of those players have to get off it as soon as they start trying to cap it. And it looks like Fancy is gonna have to give that one up, go back and reload.
Oh, so Hans does slip in, does manage to get that frag onto Alien, the very thing they probably would not have wanted. That one player shutting down the point, now out of the equation. Fancy gets free reins to just spam out everybody across that point, and Juxta's doing his best to keep people alive, but Blank wins up top as well, gets the jump on Rons, and that seals the deal on the second hold. They have to get out. They have to try and hold last of this instead. No Ubers exchanged for that at all, which is quite surprising, but only makes it harder for 4Fence now to actually hold on to it. With even a nice headshot out of Nevo isn't going to save them. The Uber does get forced out of Juxta immediately. June in no danger at all. She's even going to drop a couple of players if need be, because this repush with the Uber is going to be so juicy for MANDEM, even if they have to sack half their team for that Uber force. They're gonna get so much mileage out of this Uber and out of the aggression they can put down, because Forfans know they can't go on too deep with this, even if they want the second cap so badly. They're buying themselves a lot of time, actually, and they do get the cap, which does buy them a little bit more. Maybe MANDEM a little bit too hesitant, waiting a little bit too long on spawners. Could have committed more, but now they gotta get through the second again, at least for the time being. And that might have just bought Forfans a chance at actually holding this last again.
Yeah, it might have, but here we see the Uber come out. The gun does a good job stalling it out. Fancy not quite able to get on the point. Fancy bombing over to the right side. Very ambitious play there. QB found one on Sniper, and it looks like these Forfans players are doing such a good job holding the high ground, punishing those aggressors onto the left spawn. Look at that. Everyone down, and Juxta, they didn't even have to get Uber.
Yeah, they didn't have to get it or use it in any capacity. Thankfully for MANDEM, at the very, very least, fortunately, June does escape, so they're going to be hanging on to their medic. They're going to be getting a little bit of Uber on their own side as well, but it's still going to be Forfans on the 4-foot. They have that ad, they are working with it, and they're going to be rolling into this mid for free as well, as it's going to be MANDEM once more, having to hold their yard instead. And Forfans are keen. They're already postured in this choke. They want to get through here. Rougeman is in, created a bit of ground perhaps. Seeing if he can catch somebody. Actually, they're just going to go for the Uber straight away. June did have one though, is going to respond with her own, and well, that's all she wrote. That's all she wrote for that exchange. Nothing else happens. Shiny players staring each other down, and we have reset it.
Yeah, June, really good job building the Uber. I didn't even expect them to have Uber until I looked over at the screen. Yeah, so maybe everyone was caught for surprise there. Either way, with that Uber reset, Forfans has some options. They have so many different things they can do on this point. I'm expecting a soldier to go in. We see them spamming right now, probably just setting up. And yeah, they're going through this choke-sided door, send a high bomb in. I think that's Ron's who's trying to escape through the garage. Looks like the scout also found their way through. Brudgeman does go down though, and the scout that went through choke is Nevo, and they got cleaned up too.
Dropping some players there. I mean, you could call it sack play, you could call it trying to bait out a counter sack out of MANDEM, but it's just going to be a full-blown aggression. The entire team moving forward. A little bit of damage out to the combo that's not enough to slow them down. They do find themselves a Haunts frag as well, but so much aggression, so much forward moving out of Fancy already. Just trying to cut off this combo all by his lonesome, and well, they've managed to bully out Forfans out of the midpoint, basically for free, even if they're a player down, even on equal Ubers. Just pure aggression alone, pure DM. Respect, maybe Frenchie's respecting MANDEM a bit much, but can't blame him necessarily. It's bitten them before, being too ambitious, so they're biding their time. They're trying to take it slow and steady. Still equal situations, we've just flipped sides on the point, but they gotta start making some moves if they actually want to pick up a round here, you know? 18 minutes is plenty of time. But also, it does fly more quickly than you'd expect.
Yeah, I do agree with that. We see both soldiers for the side of MANDEM on the right side, the choke side. They're spamming through. Thought we were going to see a soldier jump, but it looks like they found the entirety of Forfans in front of that door, decided against it. So up around, you know, there's kind of no obligation, as it were, for the side of MANDEM to do anything here, but I do expect them to come up with something. Probably nothing too risky, but yeah, here they send one soldier through choke, trying to send the other one through as well. A similar play to Forfans. They see the high bomb fade. That's kind of the exact thing, except this time they sent their entire combo in for an Uber exchange. The Uber exchange has gone off for both teams. Both combo scouts running around trying to find anyone to shoot at, but it looks like there's not too much to do. And actually, MANDEM just sends their whole team in after the Uber, and they found two. I don't know how Fancy and Inso got those. Fancy found two, actually. Look at this.
He does get picked up by stickies. Just stray remaining stickies from Alien. A little consolation, perhaps, a parting gift from Forfans, but it's not enough to slow down MANDEM on this last push at all. They know there's only two players trying to get them off the point, and neither of them can deal with the onslaught, so there's a second round. Converted, flipped, just like that. And they're up 2-0. Turns out, missing Lardox today, apparently not that big of a handicap. Perhaps it's their map pick, though. I suppose we'll see as it goes on. Forfans currently not really finding what they need in response to this MANDEM aggression. Just always slightly coming out in the back end.
Yeah, MANDEM being up around, they didn't slow down. That was a really aggressive play, and wow, it worked out well for them. Seems like they're keeping it up on this mid fancy all the way up to the point, basically as aggressive as you can be at the start. We see the soldiers in the skybox for the side of 4 fence. Doesn't look like it's causing too much, but Brugman did find one frag. Nevo found another off of this aggression, and look at this, the MANDEM players are stuck in the corner. One scout gets cleaned up by QB, and I think 4 fence is very happy with this mid. Their medic's alive, and they will take that point.
Yeah, for once they win one. This is the turnaround they needed. This is the perhaps paradigm shift that they could possibly be asking for, as to finally give themselves a bit of wind in their sails, but they gotta still bully their way into second, and they're doing a great job already. Fancy a bit overextended, gets taken down, rushed down by the scouts, and 4 fence are just gonna keep this momentum rolling forward onto the second as well. They've got a demo to work with to clear out any sort of cheeky stuff, and even in an exchange, as long as Fancy isn't alive, they've still got a little bit of time to work with as well. That being said, they need to move quickly because that demo is going to be on the front line soon, and we've seen what this guy is capable of. Unfortunately, they lose Brugman straight away, and even Ron's bombing in is going to get nothing more than a little bit of a force, which, in all things considered, is actually pretty good for them here, considering how much they get out, but they still got to deal with the fact that they're now down 2 soldiers, and, well, are probably going to get forced themselves, or at least use, like, there's already a flank as well, so they just opt to run forward as best they can, leave everybody else behind for dead, and yeah, it's not really the good counter Uber that they probably would have wanted out of that. Not at all.
Yeah, Nevo ran back in, almost got onto June, but with 4 players there, what can you do? MANDEM's just keeping up the aggression, going through choke. Soldier bombed it on the other side, but Ron's not finding a single frag. Unfortunate for them. Looks like, yeah, that was so aggressive by MANDEM there, and it paid off so well. I think we're going to see 4 fence holding yard, but with the Uber situation, I don't know what they're going to be able to do. I would like to say 4 fence would be able to get the force off without losing anyone, but with how MANDEM's been playing, I'm a little scared for 4 fence.
Yeah, they've just been so aggressive. It's been crazy. That they're tight on the pushes as well, not really leaving too many doors open for anybody to slip into from other side of 4 fence. 4 fence just kind of have to blob up and find a way to do this. At least they get an Uber before anything is used on the other side. Unfortunately for them, it looks like they're about to get wrapped as well. The entirety combo is just going to go through Z, actually, straight onto the point. Going to get the Uber out of Jux as well, obviously. It's going to be a bit better for the French side, but he does have to flash a bit and is a bit disconnected. So they do have to bide their time, and they're losing the trades. They're losing the players. I mean, they find Fancy. It's a crucial pick, I suppose, but the rest of the team just has to escape because they're still half dead. And this MANDEM aggression once more is just going to get them onto the point straight away. Both scouts down there, matter of fact. The soldiers just waddling, trying to maybe get some people off the point, but they're just getting swarmed from all sides, and there you go. 3-0 for the side of MANDEM.
Yeah, MANDEM, they got all the way behind. It's like they were playing the defensive side of that Uber, and then somehow the flank found 2. The flank just collapsed for 4 fence. MANDEM, I don't know how they managed to pull that off, but 4 fence is going to have to change something up.
They do have to find a response to this. They are looking like fish out of water right now, not finding any responses to the plays MANDEM are making. No matter what they try, all that could stick was a barely mid-win last time, so we'll see if this goes any different. Both soldiers going high once more, landing on that combo as best they can. One of them is picked out of the sky by June, matter of fact. The other, yeah, well, actually, he's going to get a bit of damage, get a scout kill instead, but they lose Juxta on their side, and it's going to be a mad dash to try and get June, who is disconnected from her demo, so it's actually only Fancy left alive on the side of MANDEM. Somehow, someway, unless he clutches this against a scout and a soldier, this could very well be another 1 mid for the Frenchies, and, well, they're going to let him escape, but he didn't really do much to begin with in that little tail end there, so he's as good as dead anyway. He's just going to meet up with his team on second, and, yeah, well, 4 fence do come out on top. They have a slight ad as well, but they're going to need a little bit more than just this to really get some rounds going, because you're 3 down, buddy. You got to get something on the road here, you know?
Yeah, I was on Bronze's cam that mid. I really liked what I saw. We got the huge high bomb landing behind in choke, cutting the team off, getting a scout frag. So that's really what 4 fence kind of needs. Unfortunately, you know, their medic did go down, so they're not going to, as you said, have the ad to just like take a round straight off. Either way, this is kind of 4 fence's second chance. Last time we saw them do that, gave them the benefit of the doubt, called it a sack where they went down 2. Looks like it's starting off the same way, sending that high bomb in, landing on the other team's face, air shot narrowly hitting, or narrowly missing, I should say. Now everyone is in the corner for 4 fence. Soldier jumping over, doing so much damage to that scout, but I'm concerned if that's Brudgeman going down, and Ron's on the flank.
They do trade him out for Inzo at the very, very least, but they're losing numbers. Material is simply at a disadvantage for Forfence. They keep losing too many players for these trades, and just off the back of that, MANDEM keep winning the fights, keep rolling it forward. They're still willing to fight us, obviously. They got the Uber, and they're gonna use it straight away as well. Not enough pressure onto June just yet to get the force out off the side of MANDEM, though. They're just gonna drop Fancy out of it. They're gonna get Blank as well at the very, very least, and Nevos is gonna try his absolute damnedest to run, and he wants that force out of June so badly. They want it so bad, but she's just in no danger. Manages to run the remaining team out 2 seconds. And, well, now there's an Uber to deal with on the side of MANDEM that they gotta go through as well on this defense. They're still waiting for a couple of respawners, so who knows? Maybe Brugman could have caught somebody off guard there. Ron's is trying to do that just now, but gets cleaned off the point as well. No backcaps there. And once more, Forfence down 3 players. Didn't even get the medic force either. Just not finding what they want, running into the wrong people on their little flank plays.
Yeah, and now they're going to be giving up mid without the force. They will probably hold yard at least, so it could have ended worse for them. And it looks like they're going to try to bust through choke. They're sending everyone through, taking the high ground, maybe trying to take a page out of MANDEM's book. But at the end of this, looks like they do hold the high ground. It's not completely uncontested, though, with Ron's falling. We do see a 1v1 on the catwalk side of things. That does go the way of Forfence. Yeah. And Ubers are trading out. As you said, it looks like it's going the side of Forfence. It looks like this aggressive play they stole is working great.
Yeah, it turns out sometimes the best way to beat your enemy is to become your enemy. Well, in some ways. Fancy does go for a little bit of a flank, manages to trade himself out for Alien, and as the Ubers fade, the numbers are just traded equally on both sides. Unfortunately, though, health is a lot better for MANDEM. And even if they have to wait for respawners to arrive, just off the back of that, they do get the dominance on that mid. They get dominion over it in the end. And, well, it shakes out that nothing actually happened. Throughout all of that, great fight, both sides, but Forfence just dropping the ball a little bit towards the tail end, getting caught out. A little bit too overextended, perhaps, being a bit too aggressive, and we're straight back to where we were. That being said, Ubers are mostly equal. Again, June building just a little bit faster, but Hans going for a bit of a sack play here is going to get caught as well. Ron's immediately trying to respond with his own, realizing that that might be a tough wall to go up against, but hey, you can't blame him for trying. And yeah, we're going to be back to this little stalemate once more, which obviously at this point favors MANDEM tremendously. They're up 3 rounds. They got less than 10 minutes left on the clock now. It is do or die time for Forfence. They have about 3 minutes around to try and take it to a golden cap, which well, it's been done before, famously, but it certainly is still a tall order on Granary nonetheless, and well, they gotta start making some plays into mid if they want to have a chance.
Yeah, we do see MANDEM getting in the choke side again. It looks like everything they've ever done has been on the choke side in evens, so I wonder about that, if we're gonna see anything different, but no, MANDEM still going with the choke. Soldiers in, soldiers out. Maybe just distracting or trying to do a speed shot. Yeah.
Respect the tries. Yeah, they've been trying to over and over. If you fail the speed shot, just reset, try again. Obviously, off the back of that, actually, Forfence immediately sending in the entire team. All it took was one player. They've noticed they need to be a bit more aggressive here, and they're trying their best. Unfortunately for them, all they got to settle on right now is trading 2 soldiers for an Uber, and perhaps getting forced themselves just about hanging on to that Uber, not having to pop for the time being, but still not in a healthy position at all. All it takes is one stray rocket or one scout slipping through. Matter of fact, the flank from MANDEM has already. Hans is in behind, and Lunchbox Inzo's being a bit of a backup as well, distracting, and all this aggression onto the combo is slowly forcing Forfence back. Matter of fact, they use for perhaps a little bit of no reason. They certainly don't accomplish anything with the Uber, and they still have to deal with scouting behind as well. Inzo just being a little bit of a thorn in their sides. Both soldiers back there trying to deal with this little guy, but he's being slippery. He's being annoying. And just that alone, that threat out of the scout, pulls back the rest of Forfence.
Yeah, it did pull them all the way back, and it made them give up yards. So now we see Forfence on second, but it's not the same as being on yard. Yard just feels so much more comfortable than being on what some might call one of the hardest points to hold. Feels like some teams will just lose it no matter what happens. And yeah, Forfence being on disad definitely means that will be the case. They just give that one up. Brudgeman does try to make something happen, but no force coming out of that. Means that we might see June take an early Uber. They might try to slow down. I think June's been pretty good at counting, so I don't think we're going to see any Uber.
Yeah, probably not. At the end of the day, they can probably afford to do it anyway, even if it doesn't work, though. They are up 3 rounds. They got 7 minutes on the clock left until MANDEM have won this map. So even if they wanted to take the risk, they probably could pretty guilt-free at this point. They don't have too much to worry about at the end of the day, but they're biding their time. They know they gotta, work for this at least a little bit. Maybe do it by the book. Maybe practice it. Treat it a bit like another opportunity to hone your skills when pushing lasts, and maybe that's exactly what they're gonna be doing. Maybe they're just expecting that Forfence will have to eventually push out if they want to have a chance at taking home any points off of this map. So I guess they could also just be parking the bus and going on that. It really depends on what Nevo can try to do with his spy play. As he immediately gets spotted, I basically cursed him but just by looking at him for a split second. That's very unfortunate. That spy play isn't going to work out. He goes back to sniper and tries to do something with that instead. Could certainly work, but they need it to work.
Yeah, definitely. As you said, Nevo immediately going sniper, peeking in through the left door, doesn't actually see anything. That kind of makes me wonder where the side of MANDEM is. Maybe they're up top, if I had to guess. But Nevo does not know that information. He can't see through walls, I hope. And we see Brudgeman go down to Haunts on the flank side of things, but that has not slowed down Forfence. They're just piling into the point. They find one, trade it out. Bronze, though, goes down. Nevo trying desperately to get on the medic, but actually it's going to be Alien finding a frag onto Fancy. The demos decide to mutually trade it out, and
oh no.
Yeah.
Oh. No. They just kind of drop everyone before Juxta even gets to pop. That's very unfortunate. you hate to see that. Juxta just maybe a bit too conservative. He didn't drop, but that doesn't matter if you drop your entire team. Yeah, that's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate indeed. And I think that puts the final nail in the coffin for the Frenchies here. I don't think they have a chance to get 4 rounds in 5 minutes. I mean, I don't remember what was the exact time that TCM happened in, because they need it at this point if they want to have some insane second wind here, as the probably final mid-fight of Granary is underway. And, well, they tried something a bit more different here for once. The left side mid out of the side of the Frenchies, and, well, the trades aren't necessarily terrible. They lost their demo, but they've got some nice positioning. They're getting a lot of damage onto MANDEM's combo here as well. Fancy going dangerous low, gets cleaned up. It's only Boulder left trying to protect against Nevo. The 1v1 scout chariots. We'll see who comes out on top here. Boulder, a dangerous scout to go up against, but Nevo does not respect him enough and does actually pressure him back with some nice meat shots. So decent mid out of Forfence. They need more like that. They would have needed more like that about 16 minutes ago, but hey, it's something.
Yeah, it is something indeed, and we will see them try to make something of this, maybe get a moral victory here. Going through the left side, sending in their demo. Here's a soldier bomb. Does it get anything? It does. It gets Nevo, unfortunately, and they find a single scout who's probably going to take a solo Uber, and actually Alien goes down during this, so seems like Forfence has had some issues keeping their players alive in exchanges. Like, they just kind of start an exchange and then they're down one all of a sudden. This time it's the demo. That makes holding second mid any point pretty hard. We see Blank get traded out, but with no demo, I don't think Forfence can hold any of these doors. The scouts are flooding through. QB's down, and I think this one got away with C Fancy finding everyone.
Yeah, he just kind of cleans house, and yeah, as you've mentioned, it seems like there's just a little bit of a disconnect. Maybe a bit of a nervous impairment of sorts, where as soon as some sort of Uber tries to be made out of the side of Forfence, somebody gets dropped out of the Uber immediately, or just before it happens, right? Just before Juxta can right-click, his demo dies, or his scout gets nuked by a sticky trap somehow, and it just never quite works out. And then they're immediately down any form of aggression they could have had in that Uber push, and obviously just crumbles from there. It's a slow, painful death as well, because they tend to get out usually with how passive they play, but they just get cleaned up when escaping instead. And well, we're gonna see a last push attempt out of MANDEM for one final time here, which realistically will probably convert into a round as well. We've seen Forfence hold these before, but everybody's in spawn, and well, there's some stickers on the point, but they are pushing it anyway. You got the Haunts heavy on the pushing side as well. The heavies are gonna just be putting each other's down as best they can, even if they're down 3 players on the side of MANDEM. They're not giving up. Fancy's still in. Haunts gets cleaned up as well, but it doesn't really matter at this point anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't, as you said. we will see the attempt at least. We can get something. We could get a frag clip out of it, so that could always happen. We see Ron's all the way in, Alien jumping in, no regard for their own lives, and they do find a frag off of that, so maybe
Maybe
snowball?
maybe garbage time. Maybe this is where they
Maybe.
find their momentum. And then on Sultry, it's going to be a completely different story. Look, we know that
Yeah.
these were the maps picked. We don't know who picked what. Maybe MANDEM are just really confident on Granary and Forfence just really aren't. It's always possible that this is just kind of a kryptonite for Forfence. And, well, in these last 2 minutes that don't matter anymore, where MANDEM are kind of just throwing stuff at the wall just to have fun with it, go for logs. It looks like Forfence may actually get themselves our round on the board ever so slightly. They're certainly trying their absolute damnedest. So much cap time. The Uber gets forced out of June as well on the defending side. They're all over the place, like mosquitoes waiting to strike onto this point, and they are finding something. This is the Forfence we would have liked to see, but is this due to some second wind getting ready for the second map, or is it just because MANDEM are kind of checked out at this point? They're just whatever, right? That's always the question. Which side is it?
Yeah, hard to say, but as you said, momentum, if you're a momentum believer, you should be a Forfence believer because they will have the momentum into Sultry. We'll have final mid. We will see heavy to mid, so maybe maybe you were right, Cerny. Maybe they're just checked out here. Maybe they saw the TFTV thread heavy to mid by Wild Rumpus and decided to try it out themselves.
I've been seeing that more and more. These heavies are interesting ideas. You know, also on the last pushes and stuff, unorthodox, but if it catches you off guard, and it seems to be catching the Frenchies off guard at least a little bit right now, maybe there's something here. Maybe they were cooking as Rons tries his damnedest to somehow, some way bring it back one final time for his team, but it won't matter. 17 seconds left on the clock. This is frag clip potential, if anything, but nope. Boulder hits those, so unfortunately that's that.
Yeah, that
Oh, well.
is that. Unfortunately. Well, I don't know if we saw any frag bid moments, so maybe my prediction was wrong.
The score was pretty close, yeah. It's 4-1 instead of 3-1, but that's, you know, pretty close in all things considered. Definitely not bad. I suppose, before we even get into any sort of deep analysis, just let's look at the logs, right? There you go, I found them already. I'm just great like that. Max found them quicker, okay, I see how it is. Anyway, there's numbers going to be on your screen shortly, chat. You can see them as well, but it sticks out to me once more, as per usual. Fancy is a bomb. Bro is an ICBM. He does damage, and his team follows up on it tremendously. Boulder has a 2.4 KD. This is MANDEM at their peak. This is just how they play. This is exactly the type of stats you see out of them when they play extremely well.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Something else, Fancy, it doesn't even look like they were tanked. They were third in the heal order. And yeah, I mean, that's crazy. Looks at the damage. Fancy only took 225 per minute. You usually don't see a demo like appear to just never be shot at. So somehow Fancy is like playing sniper demo.
Somehow, some way. Bros tends to be a little bit slippery. I mean, his deaths are certainly just in the averages there as well. Nothing to write home about. Do a little shout out to Nevo though. He was definitely putting in the work for his team as well. Absolutely. So was Kiwi. Both of the scouts on the Frenchies actually doing mighty work that map, trying their absolute damnedest, which is surprising considering Granary is traditionally not even that much of a scout map. So either it's just Brugeman and Ron's not really getting to do what they want to do, getting shut down too much by the other team's scouts, or, you know, having an off day, who knows. Just there's things not really happening the way they would have wanted to. Same line of kills and deaths for both of them as well is kind of funny. How often do you see soldiers so in sync that they do everything so perfectly synchronously? Synchronously? Whatever. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I do know what you mean.
Even the same damage per minute. I'm just not like, these guys are the same player. It's just you have two of the same on your on your server. What has happened here? It's kind of crazy. Good lord.
Ron's, though, apparently the scout killer. 7 scout frags on Ron's, only 3 on Brudgeman. Maybe that's the difference between them. Ron's got 7 scouts, Brudgeman got 7 soldiers.
That's where the difference comes in. They're specialists into killing certain classes, I guess. Anyway, that's all there's really to glean from this. I mean, it was a a longish map, but it was dominant out of Mandem for the most part. We saw some glimpses of what Forfans could do. But perhaps Granary, not their map. Perhaps Sultry, our second map for the night. Much, much more their speed. Certainly a more recent addition to the map pool. It's been here for a couple of seasons now. Obviously, people are familiar with it at this point, but it still is something where you don't have, years and years of experience to back up on. You forgot a couple of seasons at most. So perhaps that's the little bit of a dark horse that Forfans could need here. The thing that people don't expect out of them. Maybe it was their pick. We've seen teams strive on these maps sometimes. If they strive in a chaotic environment, especially the Germans are an example of this. Maps like Sultry are their go-tos. They love maps like that when they can just revel in chaos. I don't know how much of a chaotic team Forfans is though, and from what I remember, they tend to not be one. They tend to be very methodical. So I suppose we'll have to see.
Yeah, we will have to see. As you said, newer map coming out. Granary been around for more than a decade, like 15 years here. I don't think any of these players have been playing that long, but it still has an impact. For Fence, I think it's worth noting that I think the mid fights were like even. I think both teams won the same amount of mids, basically. So it just seems like for Fence, they were okay at holding points. They were okay at the mid fights, but anything that involved aggression or taking a point is really where they just got kind of stymied. And that's like that one specific thing. If they can start taking points and converting from winning the mid, that's what they have to figure out here.
Yeah, I think part of the part of the symptom there as well is even if the amount of mid wins or whatever was equal, uh, whenever Mandem won a mid, they seem to always win a lot more decisively. They seem to, get onto the important picks much, much more quickly, get the cleanup done much better. And even if they lost June, which happened a little bit more rarely on the mids, they would still somehow come out on top anyway and put themselves in a better position after the fact. And if they would lose the mids, they would salvage it, lose a couple of players, but get out of there and immediately be able to hold and make it hard for Forfans. So Forfans need more decisiveness even in the mid fights, not just when it comes to converting and rotating between points and all that stuff. Obviously, that's what they've been struggling with us as well. But they are certainly struggling right now to find a response to a lot of the Mangdom aggression, and Lord knows what type of shenanigans they're going to be up to now.
Yeah, we will see. Have some. I don't think we're going to see any class switches. Maybe just some trolling in the chat.
There's some strat talk, some taunting going on out of the side of Mandem. They're considering swapping Blank onto Scout. For anybody curious in chat, that's Lord knows if that's actually going to happen. I doubt it, but you never know. I guess they could just take it easy. They could have some fun with it. Either way,
Yeah.
if you're Forfans, you've got maybe a little bit of momentum, right? You won that, you got yourself like a little consolation round at the end of Granary. You're obviously still keen to cement yourself. Any points you can take home tonight, and also against TLR coming up, obviously. Any points you can take, or was it Mandem? I don't remember who was going up against TLR. I've already forgotten. But any points you can still get at this tail end of the season, even if you're probably making playoffs anyway, if you're Forfans, they're still gonna secure that you get a better seed, perhaps, or at the very least, don't get kicked out on some crazy sort of tiebreaker shenanigans. Because, well, it's a crazy season in Prem. Anything can happen. There's a lot of upsets and weird exchanges for teams happening. It is impossible to tell who's going to be third and fourth seed. So, yeah, any points you can get, you should try to strive for them. So, like, how do you turn this around? How do you do it as Forfans here? What's the secret sauce?
I think the secret sauce is both of your soldiers getting 3 kills each on mid.
Fair enough. That's a pretty good one, yeah. You just repeat that 5 times in a row, and you've won yourself a map, I suppose. It's a good way of doing it, I guess. Yeah, I do think that I hype up this Bruges and Ron's soldier duo very frequently when I get the chance, because they are when it clicks, when they can get to do what they want to do, they are an unstoppable combo. They are unbelievably powerful. It's just that Mandem are finding the responses to deal with them well enough. And I don't know, like if they can slip those two in, if those two can do their stuff they want to do, especially on mid fights, then we could be looking at a very different forefront on what we saw on Granary. But if they just get shut down by Boulder and Inzo again, we're probably just gonna be looking at more of the same. I think they might be relying on those soldiers too much. And maybe that's why we saw such a good performance out of Nevo and QB last map as well. They were picking up the slack in a way. So I don't know. It's still tough to tell. Like MANDEM are the better team. They've had a dominant performance, but I still think if forfans are up to snuff, if they perform, this could go either way. It's really tough to say.
Yeah, I agree with that. As we know, it feels like sometimes if you like replayed a match a different day, it would just go completely differently. That's why it's so hard to say these things. Yeah, even though we just saw a 4-1 on Granary. For fence, you can never count them out. This team is, as we said, probably going to be the second seed.
They had glimpses. Yeah, they had like glimpses on Granary as well of some greatness. So I don't know. If you're French, if you're rooting for your national team that exists in every Prem season for whatever reason, here's the one to root for, I suppose. And if you believe that Sultry is the one where they turn it around, so be it. Otherwise, it looks like MANDEM will probably take another regular season, having dropped only one map this time around, but still a nearly untarnished record is still pretty good to have. So, how's the scoreline going to look at the end of this Delta? What do you think?
5-2. I don't know who's taking it. Someone's taking it, though.
Oh. So you think like there's going to be maybe a slow first half and then somebody's running away with it at the end? Something like that. I can see that happening. I don't mind that. That sounds pretty exciting. I suppose I'm just gonna agree, and well, we'll see when these players decide that they actually want to play. I know it's happening soon. I know it's happening very soon, but I'm sure we'll see gaming eventually. I'm sure we will. Anyway, we're accepting more side bets on how many devs runs we'll have this time. I saw people in chat betting on it. So, like, you put your bets in now on how many devs runs we'll have by the end of Sultry. There's no reward. We're not actually a gambling house. We're not an establishment in that regard. But hey, anyway, map 2, Sultry. MANDEM versus Forfence. And would you look at that? We're going into our first little round as well. Don't mind the missing textures, chat. That's just part of the charm of the map. Don't worry about it, okay? Anyway, it's just a little bit of a slow mid-fight to start. Nobody really keen to just take any sort of bombs just yet. You're just exchanging a little bit of spam. Now you see the French soldiers going in for that bomb onto the combo, and for once they find what they want. They get that crucial pick onto June. Now they just gotta keep Jux alive on the other side, and he's already caught. Never mind, there he goes. It falls apart immediately. They had it in just a bit of a moment there, and then they fumble the ball immediately. And it's onto Nevo to try and recover anything out of this mid-fight at this point, which, well, isn't gonna happen. I respect him trying, but it's ambitious at this point to try and make anything more of it. Maybe a second wave, a second wind out of Ron's could potentially turn the tides. At the end of the day, the medics did both go down. There's no heals on these players on mid for MANDEM for a while, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they still win, and it's going to be Forfence trying to hold their second, but somehow, some way, they actually come out pretty equal, all things considered.
Yeah, at the start of the mid, Ron's went forward onto the medic. June kind of did a left side, or the side of MANDEM did like a right-sided mid on the low ground. Ron's punished them, got that medic frag, but somehow the side of Forfence wasn't able to go forward, so they just ended up getting collapsed on, even in the end, as you said. But despite how even it was, MANDEM does hold mid, and we're gonna see some sort of play happen in the frog side. I think that's cheese, actually. Blank does go down, traded out for Brudgeman, so soldiers trading, nothing too interesting there. Oh, scout down, yeah, and Fancy posted up pretty aggressively, baiting someone around the corner.
Okay, Hans just slips in for that one, huh? Has to settle for the alien frag, but still, that's a nasty one to see. You're just about posted to go forward, and immediately you got a soldier in your face, and he actually almost gets away with it too. It's gonna slow down any aggression that Forfence could have had there. They were really trying to flip that around and actually get some aggression to mid, but losing your demo there, especially in such a tight choke point, just completely stunts anything you could have done. You're back to holding. You gotta try something again, and well, if you can somehow, some way, get MANDEM to make some more mistakes again, catch a couple of players as they're too overextended, perhaps you have a chance. But right now, both teams are just keen, just fine, just waiting, putting down some stickies, seeing what they can do, exchange some pleasantries as Blank bombs in, tries to get a little bit of ground before ultimately probably dying here. Hans tries to back him up, but he's too late to do anything, and yeah, they're actually going to find Boulder as well, and somehow get forced as Inzo slips in. Okay, I was going to say, there's no way anything goes badly here for Forfence, but they just sent 4 players for a sack, and it somehow worked, because now it's Fancy and June escaping with an Uber of their own, and it does not look like there's going to be any sort of danger coming to June, at least not right now. She's disconnected from the rest of her team. Alien has just slipped in behind, but he gets cleaned up by respawners, and there you go. No fear, nothing to worry about, and Hans is in already again. He's in behind. What is this man doing? Where is he going? He's running fucking friggin' circles around them, man.
Yeah, he is running circles around them, and that kind of brought everyone back. QB down as well, Forfence. I think it's time to go to last. Down 3, down your demo. That kind of started with Alien trying to go in, losing their demo at the start of that. Hans going behind. Forfence just getting absolutely put back to last. I'm surprised they haven't lost a round yet, because it feels like MANDEM's been in control the whole time.
Yeah, they have been. It's actually been surprising that it's taken them this long to really start moving forward, but slowly but surely they are inching their way forward. They are now in lobby, poised to try and take this into last as well. The longer they take, the more time the Frenchies have to set up their defenses, though. They got a sentry level 2 already. They got some people posted up on that right side as well, as Blank goes in for a high bomb, just as the sentry upgrades as well. Such a beautiful first rocket onto Juxta, nothing to follow up with, unfortunately for them, because Hans did go down as well, but that could have gone very, very differently. That could have gone very differently, very quickly. So nice surf by Juxta to keep himself alive there. And maybe a chance for Forfence to take this out for themselves. They do have Neva on the sniper, maybe try to get him having a shot, but they're back to holding instead. Just gonna take this slowly.
Yeah, as you said, Nevo is on sniper though, so people are gonna have to be careful. Don't want to find your head being clicked on. Seems like we're gonna have the same hold. Forfence on the right side with their demo and sniper. Only one soldier on left. We see the sentry gun in the style of Snakewater and Process in the middle of the map on point. Getting spammed from lower. Double soldier spam takes that gun clean down. Might see a sack coming out soon for MANDEM. Yeah, it is top right. Soldier missed their speed shot. Fancy does go down. That's demo down. Soldier down. Haunts down as well. Blank has to get out of there. They tried to go in as well, tried to do a 3-man projectile sack, but it's going to be Forfence now going through the alley side of things. Looks like they want to try to take this without the Uber. They have their sniper just doing a really good job spamming. I think they've cleared all the doorways, but it looks like they're sending Bronze into Cheese, trying to find a frag, but it's going to be...
Juxta dropped. Dropped. That's very unfortunate. Anyway, chat, if you can hear us even, if the stream has returned... you missed a beautiful hold out of Forfence on last that ultimately amounted in them trying to counter push and getting mulched. They just got absolutely mulched, and there you go. That's a round for MANDEM. There we are. 1-0.
Yeah, I was casting from third person and a free cam, and then yeah, everyone's dead. That's crazy.
That's how quickly it goes. Anyway, as the podcast continues. You missed a round, chat. You missed a round. It was beautiful. It sucks to be. It was like that. We love them like that, don't we, folks? But we're into our next mid fight. It's another chance for Forfence to turn things around in their favor, as Alien takes a lot of damage early, forcing Forfence to be a little bit more passive for the time being. We'll see how they approach this mid fight going forward beyond that. As soldiers on both teams go high, go deep, and June is going to be the first to fall. Traded out for Rons on the other side. They find Blank as well, though. But here's the collapse onto all these Forfence players. They find a couple of them, but they find more frags on the side of MANDEM, and it's only Fancy left alive. Still full in terms of his health. Trying to maybe turn this around against 2 scouts. He finds one. Nice pipes onto QB, but Nevo finds the meat shots that matter. And it's a 1 mid for Forfence with a full Uberat in tow as well. They certainly have gotten themselves in a nice situation to get some more stuff going.
Yeah, Frenchie's down a round, but they have full ad. They're about to take second. They're going to have full ad for last is my prediction. Who knows how that's going to go, but they are going to cleanly take second. There is a sniper, probably just holding last with sniper. Yeah, the Australians on last. Juxta is not in danger yet. They are going towards the sniper, though, so we'll have to see. Oh, they backed up, though.
Dangerous. Okay, Balder gave up the close sideline. He's gonna have to just look through a little fence and will not be able to shoot anybody through it. Just settles for a bot shot and a Bruchman. As the Uber does come in for 4 fence, they find a sentry immediately. A bit of cap time as well, but they're still stickies in. It's a crits out of the side of June with the laser beams on the heavy. At least they got a bit of damage out of it. Some crit stickies as well to cut off some players perhaps, but ultimately they didn't find much with that crits. It's still equal numbers for the most part. They find Alien, but and now they're going to be forcing players onto the point as well. Bruchman is still in, just dealing some damage. Matter of fact, gets a kill onto Inzo. Traded out before having to escape, and Nevo is committed. Bro wants it badly. Realizes the predicament he's in, though, and gets back out of there. Still, they found what they wanted, perhaps, at least a little bit of a good hold out of MANDEM, and counter-aggression coming in as well. Unfortunately, because June had to swap back to the med gun, we're going to be looking at a bit of an ad for 4 fence, and it looks like MANDEM are going to be woefully aware of that as well. They aren't too keen to be too aggressive here. They're pressuring back these French players, but they know that any mistake will severely hamper their chances to hold this last effectively. So, yeah, they're right back to it.
Yeah, Ron's is still rolling out, though, so that might stall this push a couple seconds. 4 fence taking it in through top right with the scout. Nevo leading it down. Everyone in spawn. Sentry gun down. Getting this good cap time. Look at the cap time. Almost capped. Yeah. And
Good
heavy.
Lord.
Yeah, the heavy came out, though, and the heavy lived, so I think that's over.
Yeah, Balder having impeccable timing once more on the heavy. Just slips right in at the perfect time. And it doesn't matter how much cap time you let the enemy get, as long as you don't let him get all of it. Even just leaving a little bit alive is all that matters, because now you can just get out into your second after fragging enough players, and retake that, and delete all the cap time that you could have ever wanted. And obviously, 4 fence, not necessarily keen to give this point up for free, at least trying to prod a little bit, maybe see if they can get some damage onto June, get an early force or something like that. It's gonna be an Uber out of the side of MANDEM, and 4 fence are gonna be hightailing it out of there as best they can. They do lose Juxta, though! He gets caught as Nevo got taken down, didn't have anybody to escort him out, and that is a disaster for the French team.
Yeah, it is a disaster. Full ad for June. Looks like Cheese is the doorway of choice. Balder leading this one through. There is a sniper up for Nevo. I think that's just on last, though. And it looks like it's actually going to be Shutter for once. And I think we're going to see an aggressive Uber already. Ooh. Balder is over. Ooh, yeah, Nevo. Maybe putting this one to ice for a moment.
just slowing it down ever so slightly. A bit of a spanner in the works there for MANDEM. They're going to have to wait for Hans to come back if they want to secure this for real, and that buys them quite a bit of time on the side of 4 fence as well. It's still not enough. The Uber does come through. They're going to get the sentry down immediately as well. It's going to be on 4 fence to kite this as best they can. They haven't lost anybody yet, but Bruchman is in the skybox, and he is getting peppered down. So that's the first soldier taken out of the equation, and MANDEM aren't giving up much ground off the back of that either. They find Rons to make it a second, and even with no cap time, they're still keen to just keep pressuring this. Finally, the Uber is ready for the French side, though. Juxta will keep his players alive for the time being. They do find June, actually, who gets caught in the tail end of that Uber, and that potentially puts the nail on it for MANDEM. Hans does find a revolver kill as a spy, which is crazy. And there's still so much aggression on the point. There's no way MANDEM actually wins this push, right? Holy crap. They are committed. They are very committed. Holy.
I'm just saying, MANDEM was up 2 players, but unfortunately they had a spy, so who knows what would have happened if they had a soldier. But, you know, they're still up on the round, and it looks like they're not in too terrible of a situation. Juxta does have big ad, Demo's down, so I think we're going to see this push go successfully. Rons and Brudgeman are all the way in, launching themselves across the mid. Everyone for MANDEM had to run away there, and I think Juxta gonna be able to retain their ad and player advantage, not just Uber advantage, as they are now just going straight in 2 seconds.
This is the best that 4 fence have looked all map so far. This is the prime opportunity for them to actually make something happen. Inzo dead as well means the defense is compromised for MANDEM, and they know it. They're not even trying to fight this as best they can. Bruchman does get caught by Lice. By a nice little sticky trap. Fancy does find that, but it's only going to slow them down so much. They had the Uber anyway on the side of June as well, and it's only a matter of time before 4 fence try to actually make some sort of push happen here. It's their turn. They are in the driver's seat probably for the most part, and Fancy's just trying to be cheeky with some sneaky sticky traps, but will it matter? Will anybody run into them? I guess we'll know in the next, I don't know, like 30 seconds or something as people try to walk into lobby from the side of 4 fence, and I guess we'll see if anybody falls for it. For the time being, they're trying to get some ground here. And actually, Fancy might just get caught by Nevo. He does. A little bit, too overextended, a bit too eager. Couldn't hit the pipe that time, buddy. Back to the respawn queue you go. That really compromised the defense. And it's going to be on forefronts now. Any second, they will want to use that Uber through. Everybody's getting buffed, ready up, trying to get some positions. They got to deal with a sniper as well. Nobody wants to run into it. And actually, I have QB on the offensive sniper as we're going into a pause.
Yeah, Fancy almost respawned already, so gonna have to see. I think you're right. I think it's gonna come down to the sniper duel. If Nevo or QB gets this one, I think there's a good chance Forfence takes the round. If QB just goes down, it's probably gonna be something that just dwindles out.
Yeah, this is an interesting, curious pause timing as well, right? Because obviously it happens a minute and a half in the future. Maybe after a failed push, maybe after a failed hold, perhaps somebody lagged out, perhaps it's attack pause. It's impossible to really tell right now. It is a technical pause for forfeits, so that doesn't necessarily, like, you know, that little bit of clairvoyancy we've just been given doesn't spell great for how this push could potentially go. But maybe they do win it, and then they just realize in the next round that somebody, you know, lagged out or something like that. It's always a possibility. As things are right now, I mean, it's an okay chance they have for this push, but they maybe took just a little bit too long to get in there because they ended up giving June an Uber. They ended up letting MANDEM set up quite a decent defense here as well, even with Fancy still respawning. It's an uphill battle at the end of the day. It's still not the easiest one. You have a sniper duel going on the left side, but, you know, it just depends on which one of these two guys hits the shot first. They're both aiming in each other's general directions, and even then, they still have to hit more shots after. It's probably a lot easier for Balder because he's in a much more defensive position that's not going to get spammed as quickly.
Yeah, I do agree. And the gun, in all of these Uber fights, it a lot of times comes down to if the gun goes down as well, and if the NG stays alive. We saw, I think it was the first round on Greenery where the NG went down, and somehow the defenders actually won that round, but that's definitely the exception to the rule. Usually if you get caught on NG, which can happen in exchanges, it goes pretty bad. So, see, a lot of things happen here.
It is only level 2. I can't see how much it is upgraded currently, but, you know, Inzo is probably not going to be trying to upgrade that any further with the imminent push. But I mean, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one. I don't know, like MANDEM have such a decent defense setup, and obviously they're mechanically more sound. It's tough to say. And the longer this pause goes on, even if Forfence have now won a round and this pause is in the next round as somebody crashed out, it just stunts any sort of momentum you had, right? You're cooling down now if you were warmed up or anything like that. Even if Forfence picked up the round here, they're going into this pause now, and I mean that just probably, first of all, probably means they lost the mid fight because somebody crashed out, and it just doesn't spell well for them. You know, it's not necessarily a great look.
Mission ends in 60 seconds.
Yeah, I do agree with that. At the same token, if you are losing a round, it's not the worst time to have a technical pause. It might help you kind of stabilize or like stop the bleeding, as it were. Yeah, hopefully it wasn't the medic though. That's kind of all you can hope for. As long as you end up on even Uber, shouldn't be the worst thing.
I suppose it's possible. At this point, this is just kind of, you know, there's not much to glean from this match yet. There's only been one round. We finally see some control now out of Forfence, but there's not much else to glean from that just yet. I'm just looking at people's loadouts again. This is kind of just what I do at that point. I'm just looking at what everybody's rocking, the cosmetics, and seeing what people's tastes are, and seeing who I can judge most aggressively for it.
I feel like the sniper is always a good class to look at the cosmetics. You can learn a lot if they have the anger cosmetic on.
I respect the ones that wear like smaller hats, so their head is a bit smaller. QB doesn't do that. He's got a big hat on. He's making himself a prime target.
You don't respect the pumpkin head hat on sniper?
I don't know. It looks good in Elden Ring, but not in this game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. Come on, this is a long tag pause. What's going on with the French internet, man? Is this normal? Frenchies in chat, is this normal? Is this the average French internet experience?
I always heard, I don't know if it's true, I always heard that the German internet would have issues.
It's terrible. It's awful. It's absolutely terrible. I can speak firsthand. It is one of the worst experiences you could have in a modern country. It's actually shambolic. It's hilariously bad. So I guess, you know, both teams can be happy they don't have any German players. Closest thing is June, I suppose, but I don't know how Austrian internet compares, so I'm not going to judge that. Not at all.
Well, never know what will happen for the Frenchie side. Maybe they have someone lined up, or maybe, you know, I'm not saying they're doing this, but it has happened where technical pauses do get extended a bit because teams want to talk about things, and I'm not saying that's happening, but it is always possible.
Hey, 5.5 minutes is a long pause. Isn't it supposed to be 5 minutes max and something? Like, obviously, you know, if both teams are cool with it, it doesn't really matter, I guess. People can pause for as long as they want if the teams are fine with it, but good lord, this is a really long, like, this is the type of pause you get at, like, LAN, when it's, like, high stakes, like, these, you know, teams are really trying to talk it out, and then they, like, try to extend it as best they can, controlled environments. Either somebody's PC exploded on the French side, or there's some nefarious, just insane strat talking going on right now. Like, somebody rolled up the whiteboard, opened up their webcam, and was like, all right, guys, here's how we do this. Because
heavy to mid?
I mean, maybe that is a strat. Maybe that is what they're trying to do.
Yeah. It is possible. There's, yeah, just looking at the map, I've always felt like sniper to mid might be possible on this map. I don't know if anyone's tried that in ETF2L. I don't think I've ever seen it in NA. But it is it's like, you look at the mid and it's like Sunshine, you compare it to like Sunshine mid, it's like there's nothing in the middle of the map. There's the Tetrises, but there's nothing in the middle that blocks line of sight.
It is kind of like just flat ground. That is kind of true beyond that. So perhaps there is something to be done there. I guess it's always a curiosity. You can tell we're grasping for straws if we're talking about hypothetical mid pushes that could happen 5 minutes in the future, because we don't know what's going on at this point. We've talked all that we can about this last push. Like, QB's probably winning the sniper duel right now. He's probably more directly aimed at Boulder than Boulder is at him, and, you know, unless he beefs the shot, that's that one taken care of. So it's already putting them at a better position. It's really just a matter of time now. Unpause should be coming through sooner rather than later, according to our back channel production conversation. There you go. It has been fixed, and we are back into the actual gameplay as Rons jumps in. It looks like QB did beef the shot, and it looks like there was a force onto the French side as well, with Juxta getting forced by a nice little bomb. So there you are. There we go. We are back into it. It turns out the last push was stunted even more quickly. Some aggression was enough to take Juxta's Uber away from him, and obviously MANDEM are on a counter aggression. They still have to deal with that sniper though. QB isn't necessarily missing shots just yet. He's actually hitting quite a few. Hans gets taken down due to gravity as well, and the rest of MANDEM are just barely trying to get their way in here. Blank gets just shoved into the ground as well, and somehow, some way, Forfans are actually kind of hanging on this. They're actually kind of staying in there for the most part, with, you know, Uber just coming back to Juxta now, slowly but surely. They're still trying to hold this pretty damn close, and maybe just maybe even bully their way into the second ever so slightly. They're certainly doing an okay job at it right now. Unfortunately for them, they've also been flanked entirely by MANDEM's combo, who are now behind them, going for the pincer, and gonna go for this Uber exchange on the point. Well, at least the Frenchies want one. Unfortunately for them, it's a lot better of an Uber out of the side of MANDEM, and it's gonna fade a lot later, and they might have respawners coming in as well. This is where QB timed out, by the way, so this is where the fight definitely crumbles for Forfans, and where the pause comes through sooner rather than later. So there you go. There it was. QB, long internet breakout there for him, I suppose, but he's back with us. He's back alive, I guess, and well, it's unfortunate. Probably did end up losing that push due to that as well. At least it contributed. Now Forfans once more on the back foot, down the Uber as well, unfortunately, and just kind of trying their best to probably just hold last at this point.
Yeah, it seems like that, man, if Juxta, that didn't happen, maybe we would see even Ubers, but now it's just going to be disad. Is some typing in the chat. They might be agreeing to even the Ubers. I don't know if they actually are, or if that was even talked about. I don't see anything. Yeah, Uber's just coming straight out, gun down with this ad push. Seems like the tire top right is under the MANDEM side of control, and there are trades happening on the flank, but I don't feel like this was enough to maybe get the point. They are sending their soldier in, they're taking so much space. Look at the point. Scouts on it, getting contested. Finally, the soldier jumping in. Demo came out of the other side of the spawn. But yeah, it seems like even with that frag Fancy found, these last defenses have been very strong for the French.
Yeah, they've been doing a mighty fine job holding on, and perhaps they're going to be able to convert this into something more as well. They are down 2 players, which is unfortunate when you try to push out with, but they're still going to be at least a bit more aggressive with their forward hold here. They're going to be in lobby, taking some ground, making sure these MANDEM players know their place and stay back for the time being, as Alien puts down some cheeky, sticky traps. Seeing if we can catch somebody, maybe just blind dead something. Who knows what could happen as the Ubers equalize once more. And we're probably going to see another attempt at a MANDEM. Well, eventually, sooner rather than later, for sure, as they make their way through the alleyway once more. Oh, it's just a big bomb in. Some little damage there onto Alien before he gets backed out, and there you go. That's that soldier taken care of. And matter of fact, with a boulder going pretty low as well, Nevo picking up the rifle once more. This could actually be another stunted push for MANDEM for the time being. Yep, they're just backed out off the back of that once more.
Yeah, it does seem like the situation again goes to Sniper. Nevo wants to pull the Sniper out. Not QB this time, I think, is the last Sniper we saw. Actually, Spy, probably just checking off classes. Wants to make sure no funny business. And they do see the INSO on Sniper. But guess what? INSO swapped. So they might think there's a Sniper, but there's actually a Spy.
There's some mind games going on here. The back and forth. INSO is going to commit to the Sniper, though. He's decided he wants to play that class. He's decided that it is going to be what's in the cards for now. And perhaps he's going to be the playmaker for MANDEM here as well. Things have slowed down a bit, which obviously plays into MANDEM's hands. With 12 minutes left on the map, that's still a decent chunk of time. But forfeits are down around, and obviously any minute bled off the clock is a minute less they have to, well, convert that round that they need to come back with eventually. And naturally, that plays into MANDEM's favor, as they can kind of just bide their time a little bit, see if this INSO play is going to work out, if he can get an angle onto anything, win the Sniper duel, or just find another frag of somebody overextending, as, well, Nevo obviously wants to do the same. See if anybody just wants to walk into a sight line for the time being. He's going to get a body shot onto the Sniper, but that's all she wrote for the time being, and they're back to just staring each other down. Well, alright, that's a pretty good frag to get, though. Finding that shot onto Fancy. That's not a headshot as well onto INSO, just lives because of the overheal. Maybe Nevo's on top of these players right now. Maybe he does get to play Sniper for a reason. As they prod forward a little bit more, Fancy being down does give them some space to work with, but not for long. And it's not enough for friends to want to commit to a push either, which is respectable.
Yeah, it definitely is. You know, even though you're down a round, if you're just down 1 round, is it really worth doing anything crazy off of last? I have to say it's probably not. You see so many teams try to push last, and you win. If you want to win the game, some teams say never leave last.
Ooh.
And so, yeah, finding that one onto Nevo. As you were saying, Nevo was looking so good, but all it takes is one slip up, just one of these duels to go the way of the offenders, and it can turn things around. Here we see the soldier bombing over, sentry gun down.
Whoa!
Oh no, that's the medic! That's the medic dropping!
I was so focused on that soldier going into the skybox, and then in the corner of my eye, see a medic drop into a headshot, and that's all it takes. From that, that's the final domino you need to push over. It crumbles from there. That is a 2-0 now for MANDEM, and I'm pretty sure they didn't even have to use on that push if they didn't want to. They just did for the logs. Yeah. Maybe you should have pushed out at some point. Maybe that would have been a better idea, because now you're down 2 rounds on the side of the Frenchies, and you got 10 minutes to work with. That's a third of the time you could have had to get those 2 rounds at the start. So, I suppose we'll see how they adjust to these mid-fights now, how things are going to go. Hopefully nobody on their side lags out once more, and they actually find themselves in a driver's seat position eventually. These bombs have been working well for them, and they do send the soldiers across again. Unfortunately, this time it didn't quite work out in their way, and they just trade out rounds for blank eventually, but also give up a lot of positioning on the side of forfence. They are just now trying to rotate around, maybe grab a little bit more ground as they put in their own combo in a barrelless position. Juxta trying his best to stay alive here, but gets gunned down eventually by Boulder. And that's all she wrote probably for the French mid. Even if they win now with MANDEM just giving up the positions. They do have that Uber in tow, and it's only a matter of time before they try to repush off of the pressure with that alone.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That mid seemed to be going so well for Four Fence. After that trade, they got like 3, but that Soldier Bomb, I think it was Hans, got like 5 rockets onto Juxta. I don't know about any medic on the planet that can have 5 rockets sent at them from close range and live. And we do see flank aggression. Four Fence, they just lose 2 on the flank. Uber comes out. Looks like
no.
Alien. Oh no, it's everyone.
It's everyone. Fancy just cuts off the combo trying to escape. Jux is disconnected from Alien. Alien eats 2 pipes and dies. It's just falling apart at the seams. Every single piece of this castle is falling down for Four Fence. They're already on last, man. Them spawn camping them. They haven't capped second yet. Just now getting a single scout on that. Hans isn't even in the fight either, and maybe MANDEM are just being a bit too eager here. They do end up paying for it. Blanket Fancy both get taken down, but it didn't really matter, probably. Maybe. I mean, they put themselves in a bad position. Perhaps, but they still have the Uber ad, so...
Yeah. Four Fence, though, maybe they'd rather hold last than hold second. Holding second versus disad sometimes goes worse than holding last. We'll have to see how this one goes. We're going to see pressure through choke, sending this soldier all the way over, jumping around. Everyone's jumping every which way. Demo in. No Uber used, but the demo jumped in. Bit unusual there, but it worked great. Four Fence, I think they're happy with that. They'll probably buy time for Uber. Maybe have to see how quickly it comes through this left side as they're running up this alley. Only a couple seconds before the other team gets Uber, though. We see double high bomb in. Look at these soldiers going so far, getting the gun down.
Oh my
so much
God.
damage. Yeah.
They go in so deep, but they also only really trade out frags. It's still equal numbers either side. With the Uber now in play for both teams, it's a lot later. Juxta, he probably didn't really want to use there either. Blank probably salvaging that for MANDEM, if anything, with that late bomb. Getting the force out of Juxta. Fancy and June well out of harm's way already. Nothing to worry about for them anymore as the rest of the team spawns up on mid, ready once more to help them try and re-aggress into this. And even if Four Fence retake second, they have to be careful immediately. MANDEM are in, and they are tasting blood. They want to have another round on the board as quickly as possible, just to cement themselves as the victors, and it's not working in their favor at all. Both soldiers and the demo dead already, with Scouts and June now backing out, trying to stay alive as best they can. Inzo does sneak through, gets a little frag onto Nevo, but it's just a trade in the end, and somehow this French aggression is actually working. They're just staying cohesive enough, blobbing up and picking off the targets that try to slip in, so maybe this is the turnaround they needed.
Yeah, I do agree with that. It might be exactly what they need. We do see them jumping all the way in through choke, getting their soldier on the medic. I think they actually might have... No, they didn't get June. It was so close over there. And Four Fence probably just going to have to run away with that. They did not have the play they needed, and I think they're actually going to lose mid off of this. We see Soldier Hans already in behind the squad. Everyone in. It's an exchange, but there's players behind, so I'm a little worried at the end of this. Yeah, QB down as well. I think these Four Fence players have been cut off completely.
They're not getting out of this one alive. That's an absolute meat grinder setup there. It's painful to witness at this point. That was not something nice to see, and well, yeah, it's just MANDEM once more showing that even if they mess up, slip up ever so slightly, things just come out on top for them anyway. And well, Balder dying to a sticky trap here, sure, it's gonna slow them down a bit, but Juxta's just now spawning. They're gonna be down 40%, even if it looks like he has no, he tried. I think he considered switching miniguns, but chose not to. Stuck with the stock anyway, and well, Four Fence know the predicament they're in. They got 5 minutes to grab 2 rounds if they want to take home any points. They do find Fancy, they do find Inzo, but they lose 2 on their own side as well, so even if the numbers are kind of in your favor, you gotta worry about that Hans slipping through. Bro is doing what he does best and just being an absolute menace behind. And there's the Uber out of the side of MANDEM. It was an ad, and Juxta's gonna get caught once more. It's taken down just like that. It doesn't even matter that they used there. MANDEM are just staying on top of it no matter what.
Yeah, as you said, absolute menaces, all of them, all the way into last. Soldiers in, taking this 1v1 with the Scouts and losing it, but you know, it's Scout v Soldier, what can you do there? Looks like point time, not able to get capped because, you know, the second point only just went down, but QB going down, Alien going down. I think MANDEM really just are turning the screws on this one.
Just tightening it up, picking up players one by one as they try to be a bit too aggressive on the side of the Frenchies, and it looks like Forfans might have run out of steam. I feel like we were seeing some plays out of them, especially in parts of this map, but they look just despondent now. I feel like they've kind of delegated themselves to the fact that they're probably not getting much more out of this. Again, 5 minutes, 3 rounds, theoretically possible, but it requires a Herculean effort, and we have barely seen it out of them in this match. It's only in glimpses, as they send a nice double boyfriend bomb behind, and it doesn't even matter because they trade out their medic for a soldier anyway. Ronz gets cleaned up as well as Alien Smiley. It's already just 3 players left, and they haven't even put a dent into most of the other players on the side of MANDEM. Just slowly but surely finding an extended Inzo, but this combo is so tightly knit right now. It's gonna be quite a tall order to get onto June. They do find Blank, and they do gotta deal with Fancy and Boulder as well, and they're both hitting shots, so that's a tough one.
Yeah, as you said, when the scouts don't miss, what can you do? June, full ad, retained completely, took back the mid. We're probably gonna see something happen into last, I think. I don't think they're using the Uber yet. They do send Fancy in. I'm not entirely sure what Fancy's doing, but apparently they're just finding frags onto the soldier.
He's doing what he does best. He's doing his thing. Just let him cook. He's having fun with it, okay? And it's working. This aggressive demo playstyle, he's honed it. It's his thing. He does it well. And it's going to be another opportunity for MANDEM to try and take this into last with an Uber as they finish the second cap, get across the point, find a sentry gun down immediately already, and the heavy is also pretty low, so he's going to be out of the equation for a while. But they didn't put that much cap time, and they're actually losing Fancy and now Blank as well, traded out for only a soldier. It is actually crumbling. It didn't quite get the point pressure or the grounds they wanted quickly enough. Everybody on Forfan's doing a nice job kiting that Uber, and the counter aggression is there immediately. They have smelled that there could have been a glimpse, a glimmer of a chance there, but I think it has faded away now. Even if they wanted to, all they can do is a round, maybe 2, and oh, maybe that's when you play out of your mind. Since the Uber comes into mid as well, they're just keeping this rolling forward. They're trying their damnedest to just put a round on the board.
Yeah, we do see that. I think June, somehow every time Forfans has an advantage, there's just again at disadvantage, and here it is with the Uber. They take the mid, but they're at Uber disad. Uber coming through choke. Fancy bombing in, as you said, let him cook, and he'll find the medic apparently.
Yeah, that's exactly. Bro is an ICBM precision strike directly onto Juxta. It doesn't even matter that the rest of the Forfans slipping behind because, well, okay, actually they do get the back cap. Wait a minute. Something is happening here. Ronz is actually gonna try to get this back cap. Fancy gets stuck on the ceiling, can't quite get through. Thankfully, Hans is there as a spawner, and Nevo runs straight into the pipe as well. So no backup for them there either. that could have been close.
Yeah, I mean, it was close. It was the cap. It was all blue. It was all blue, but not enough.
Could have been closed, let's say it like that. Yeah, okay. Stumbled over the words a little bit. Look, it's anybody's game still. I suppose Forfans can still convert the round. They got so much cap time to work with. They have, against all odds, somehow a charge ready with the crits out in place. So maybe this is what they need as they try to get some grounds here. They do lose Ron straight away though. The crits is not in play just yet. It will be immediately though, and there's the crit sticky. It finds Inzo, and it does some zoning. Oh, June playing with fire here with the positioning as well. They're gonna just flash it onto QB instead, and there you go. They find a round. Somehow, Forfans only has that dog in them for the last 2 minutes of every map, but hey, they find a round.
Yeah, finally, you know, 40 seconds left. I guess we're probably in, as you would say, garbage time, but hey, they put one on the board. It might matter for tie breaks.
End of the day, who knows? Things can always happen. Somehow, Forfans always only getting in there once they are, well, off the clock basically. It's either that because they suddenly activate or because MANDEM decide to slow down and just take it easy. As garbage time takes its toll and people have fun with heavies to mids and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's a pretty dominant performance out of MANDEM tonight. You know, we're hyping it up at the start like these are the 2 top teams right now in Prem, just by going off the scoreboard and stuff like that, but
Victory.
it's still kind of a night and day difference. MANDEM are looking like a much stronger team than Forfins right now, at least.
Mm-hmm. I am looking at the logs, and I don't think you would be surprised to know who's top damaging. And
Let me guess, it's Fancy.
mm-hmm.
Of course, of course.
Fragging though, Balder dropped to 30.
Ah, that's
So
big. Yeah, yeah. You hate to see that when you're going up against a scout doing that. That's that's a tough one as well. But yeah, that's I mean, it shows. The logs are going to be on screen momentarily. Chat, you'll see it as well. But it shows there's a dominant performance out of MANDEM once more. They were in control for most of that. Even once more, if mids were won by Forfents, and we had glimpses. They did have plays in there that worked occasionally, right? They put around on the board towards the tail end as well. It just shows it's night and day, man. The differences between these two teams right now. Like, and you could look at any individual matchup between classes as well. And for the most part, the MANDEM counterpart tended to be coming out on top.
yeah, that's basically how it went. Nevo did do more damage than Balder, but the combo scout was probably the closest matchup. But yeah, I mean, poor runs, man. 7 frags only. I mean,
22
that's
deaths
just
again.
yeah,
If anything, he's consistent.
yeah.
You can give him that, I suppose. Rough day for the French soldiers. Neither of them getting away with too much. They came out swinging in the first round, right? Those bombs across the mid, they worked decently well. They had some control for a while, but MANDEM found a response to it quickly enough, and yeah, it just kind of falls apart from there. Everybody getting outmatched ever so slightly.
Yeah, it's just another thing. I guess not too much to say on the logs, but one thing: Juxta died 12 times, while June only went down 5 times. I feel like that
Yeah,
maybe is just a symptom of how good the Mandem Ubers were.
I think that's part of it, but also, I mean, a lot of times it just ended up happening that Juxta just gets caught, right? He gets caught in the post Uber fight, or whatever. Which, that happens to the best of us. But then he just continues to get caught, even in non-Uber pushes. Like, Forfeits are on the back foot, but they're like, oh, we gotta maybe see if we can get another force out of June, or like some sort of aggression, maybe catch somebody, slow down MANDEM for a bit, and then they just feed 3 players, including Juxta again. And that's how you can quickly rack up deaths as a medic like that. And it just snowballs, right? You're on the death spiral at that point. Oh, your medic keeps dying, so you keep having to sack people to kill the enemy medic, but it keeps not working, which leads to your medic dying again, and you're just on a vicious cycle until you end up losing Sultry like that. That's just how it goes, I guess. Anyway, do you have any closing words before we just wrap it up for tonight?
I don't think I have anything to add.
Fair enough. If it's if it's just that simple, then look forward to more matches tomorrow. We are covering one of them. I forgot which one it was, but I'm sure we'll be reminded momentarily if I just look at the Discord. There you go. It's going to be Skeda versus the Germans. That could be an interesting matchup. It is very important for the German team specifically, that match. So the playoffs implications continue as the regular season comes to a close, and even if both teams we saw tonight are probably making playoffs anyway, the ones we're seeing tomorrow, well, that's a bit up in the air. So look forward to that, and good night, I suppose.